So before we go on, I can see Elena's joined, which is good timing, because I was going to say Elena's one of the people who got to day 10 this week. And I was interested in Elena's post because some of you will know Elena's done a long streak in the past, and then that got harder, and now she's set goals for a longer streak and is finding it a little bit easier this time, and that doesn't surprise me. And it is always worth saying when you find it a little bit easier, because basically she's learned some skills and tools from last time. She's gained a lot of knowledge since she started out last time, and that's probably putting her in a strong position at the start of this part of this next stretch that she's doing. So it really does make a difference. So every time that you slip back or you feel you've taken a step backwards, don't see it like that. See it as strengthening and gaining skills, which will take you and make it even easier on your next stretch. And we can come back to that, but I just wanted to point out, because Elena's a very good example of that, because I think this is really important, because the way you set goals sets the tone for how you're going to, have this campaign to improve your relationship with alcohol, whether that's cutting down or whether that's taking a break or quitting totally. Actually, the skills are the same for setting goals, so this works whatever it is. But for me, there's something about having a really strong base. Claire, I said you, did I not? Wait a minute. I'm sure I did. Claire Domus, you were on 50 days the other day. Right, actually, I'm going to start again. So, as I said, thinking through your goal setting and what you're trying to achieve is a really sets a firm foundation for you for this campaign, this health campaign that's coming ahead. And the time you take to think through how you're going to set a goal, rather than just saying, right, that's it, 30 days, 100 days, 6 months, a year, rather than just putting a blanket on it, you might want to think through your behaviours and with alcohol that may help power your time ahead. If you're looking to moderate, then that's just as important as well, because you've learned a lot about your behaviour with alcohol, and setting goals for you is equally just as important, because you know that nagging part of your brain that we talked about last week, the bit that wants you to self-sabotage. Well, when you're moderating, that's even harder to ignore once you've got a couple of drinks in your head, literally in your head. So setting goals either way is really important, creates a firm foundation and lets you think about the time that you've got ahead. And rather than saying the times you've got ahead as 30 days, 60 days, 70 days without, or only a Friday night with 2 drinks, you begin to see it as a work in progress and something you're working towards, and you've got the skills to work towards, rather than just a blanket set of days that look hard and daunting. So how do you go about setting your goal? Well, first of all, I think you need to remember and remind yourself about the type of drinker you are. So think through your relationship with alcohol. Are you somebody that drinks at home a lot? Are you somebody who always gets stuck when you go out for work, after work with friends? Are you somebody who's got a certain set of friends that when you go out with you can't say no to? Are you always the one? I would say I was somebody who used drinking as an extreme sport. So there came a point when my self-sabotage was about seeing if I could really stay out that late and drink and still get into work the following day. So there was an element of extreme sports about the way that I drank. Are you somebody who's drinking continuously during the week, and the fact that you've not had a day off for a long time? Are you somebody who bows to pressure very easily? It's worth working out all of those things, because when you come to set a goal, you can think realistically about the time that's coming up ahead and what might be some of your hurdles. And rather than seeing your goal as, unless you're really determined to get alcohol free forever, rather than seeing your goal as something that's long and forever, maybe chunking it down into bits. I'm going to do a month, then I'm going to do another month, then I'm going to do another month, rather than seeing it as something that has no end, which regardless of what you learn about yourself along the way, you're not sure whether you will ever be able to achieve it. It seems like a perfection that's really hard to obtain. And like we've seen for people who have come off the wagon, coming off the wagon, while it feels terrible at the time, creates a learning curve for you and makes you value what it is that you've learned in your time off. So you may have done a month off, or as in Susie's case, 8 months off. You may decide, right, what's my next streak? What's the next time frame I'm going to give myself? What do I feel is achievable and not too scary? Because that might, if I set too long, it might scare me off. So don't make it too easy for yourself. Don't use the fact that it should be achievable as a way to go, oh right, I'm going to do one day and see how it goes. But do reflect on you as a person, what you were like as a drinker, where you think your pitfalls are, and how you think you can translate that in to an achievable goal. So take a little bit of time to reflect, write it down. The booklet in the files section, which is called Planning Sucks, goes through thinking about what type of drinker you were, and thinking through all of that sort of behavioural stuff that you need to translate and take with you into your goal setting. So next, if you're setting goals around moderation, that you're only going to drink on it's not getting cold, it's in an insulated mug, look. If you're setting goals around moderation, where you think you may only drink on a Friday night, or you may only drink in company and you're never going to drink at home, there are a variety of rules that you can set yourself. The hardest part about setting rules and goals for yourself in terms of moderation is the fact that you can easily find an excuse. I will only drink on a Friday night, apart from when I've got friends coming next weekend. Sorry, we just had a little breakdown there. But anyway, that will happily, but apart from that weekend when those friends come down, and apart from that Wednesday night when there's an event, you can really begin to, your subconscious will start to make loads and loads of sub-clauses, which means one minute you thought you'd only drink on a Friday night, and the next week you'll find you drank every single night of the week. So be wary of that. Make sure that those goals are really firm and they're very achievable. Next, in terms of your goal setting, is to what I like to do, which is to set a baseline. Now, the problem with changing drinking is some of the changes that you will experience are incredibly subtle, because a lot of things that change are about what happens to you over time, about what happens to your energy, what happens to your brain, what happens to your metabolism, what happens to your relationships and your concentration. Those things don't come in week 1, week 2, maybe not even in month 3, maybe not even in month 6. So you see, there's a long game here, and if you're like me, I get quite bored with long game things. I like to see instant, quick results. And all of the small subtle changes from changing your drinking are sometimes really hard to see, because they're masked by the fact that you have got discomfort, that you're not able to have a drink when you've usually expected to have one. You're not able to fulfill that need. So you'll have this growing sense of discomfort, and it will all feel really terrible. And then you're sitting going, I'm feeling no positive benefits at all. I thought, I was going to wave a magic wand and my life would suddenly be perfect. That's really quite hard, because we are individuals that like instant gratification in large part. It's partly why we probably enjoy drinking. So what can you do about this? Well, I do suggest setting a baseline. There's been a big discussion about Fitbit on the group this week, and having a wearable device. I would show you mine, but it is currently broken, which means that my life hasn't existed for at least the last 7 days, because I haven't got any data for it whatsoever. But I found a Fitbit really useful to measure my sleep. And if I had really thought about it, then I would have got one of these before I gave up. Because what you can begin to do is set some very simple measures of things that you would like to notice the difference of. How many days a week am I normally quite grumpy because I've got a hangover? Well, how many days next week am I hoping that I won't be that grumpy because I've got a hangover? Now, you're never going to get rid of grumpiness entirely, so don't go and blame it on the fact that clearly giving up drinking hasn't worked, because other things will make you grumpy. But, you know, you may have some things around mood that you might want to measure. You may want to measure your sleep. You may want to measure, one of the other things that I did, oh, it's quite nice sitting on my desk here. One of the other things I did is I measured my blood sugar levels with a home blood testing kit, because I think my blood sugar levels were pre-diabetic, verging on pre-diabetic when I was drinking. And I wanted to see how they might come down. You may want to also measure issues around anxiety and anxiety attacks, what your relationship is with food, whether you're tense or anxious, what's happening with your spending of money. There may be a whole list of variables that are important to you. Write down the list of things that you would like to measure when you give up drinking or moderate drinking. Then write where you think they are now. What's my anxiety levels out of 1 to 10? How good am I at spending money? How good am I at controlling food out of 1 to 10? Set yourself a list. How good are my relationships with friends and family? I've got a little list here. How good is my motivation in the morning to get things done? Start to make a list. Mark 1 out of 10 on what those are for you. Anything that you can measure with a device, then wear this for a few days before you give up. Measure your sleep, measure your blood sugar levels, measure the number of steps you do, measure the number of flights that you do, or anything that you think that you can measure, because it'd be some of those small subtle changes that you begin to see week on week. And at the end of each week, begin to measure those. Where am I compared to last week? Are things better? I found this really useful because really that overwhelming sense of feeling I was denying myself something was really, really strong. But being able to see the fact that I was less of a grumpy cow in the weeks after giving up drinking really made a difference. The fact that I woke up feeling refreshed every day really made a difference. The fact that I woke up really motivated with a sense of excitement. Now, just before I gave up drinking, when my drinking at the heaviest, I never woke up every day feeling excited about life and things going on. So my mood was really low. So beginning to measure those is, I think, really important. So you can set yourself a baseline before you give up, or you can set yourself a baseline now, 3 or 4 days in, or even 3 or 4 months in, because those subtle changes will keep on giving back. You may have some things you might want to add to our list on changes that you hope to see. Let us have them, let us see them, because I think that will be really useful for other people to set your baseline. So you've set yourself a goal, you've set yourself a time, and you've set yourself in amongst that how much you're going to drink, whether it's a moderation goal or a quitting goal, or even if you're tapering your drinking down to nothing, you would have set yourself a goal there as well. You've set yourself a time, so it's smart and it's measurable. You've looked at your drinking history so that it's achievable and realistic. So all of that stuff about SMART goals does really help, but it's based on knowledge that you have about yourself and about what you're hoping to see improve. Next, in terms of goal setting, is planning the week ahead, because there is no such thing as those people who can decide that they want to change something about their life and do it immediately without any need to worry. They can just make the decision. They're strange. That's all I can tell you. They're completely strange people. They're not they're not us. We're the people who know that we need a little bit more support, otherwise we wouldn't be here. There isn't just an off switch, because if there was one, we would have probably used it, on several nights out by now. So start to think as your first week as being both challenging but also possible, and it's possible if you plan. So begin to think about what's coming up. Who will you be seeing? Will they be supportive? Could you change that meeting if you've decided that you're not quite strong enough yet to say out loud to somebody, oh, you know what, I'm not drinking yet? Is there an event that you're going to where you could phone up in advance, like several of you have been doing, and asking what they've already got on tap, what they've got for you that you can drink if you can take your own? Is there a time of day that you know that you start thinking about drinking? And that can often be about 3 o'clock, you know, after lunch, after lunch lull, when you're looking forward to your after work time. Is there a time that you know that you may need a distraction? The more you can write down that list of things that may trip you up this week, the more you can plan to either avoid them or mitigate. Mitigate meaning that you can do things to help you get through that feeling of discomfort. So if you know at 3 o'clock you might start thinking about drinking, what could you do at that time instead? Could you go and speak to somebody? Come on here for 10 minutes. Do you want to have a nice conversation with a friend? Do you want to save your online shopping to do it that time instead, so you've got something that's really interesting to do, but is something that will take your thoughts away from alcohol, unless of course you click on the alcohol section. Don't do that. Can you rearrange anything? Can you say to your mates, well, actually this Friday, can we not go to the pub? Can we go to the cinema? Is there a friend that you would like to enlist now in your first week to make them a cheerleader and say to them, I'm doing a challenge, I'm doing the triathlon, I'm planning and prepping for Sober October, whatever you want to say. Would you be able to help me with it? I'd really like to have a friend who would like to go to the cinema or the theatre or for a long walk with me instead. So begin to plan out your week ahead. Where will your pitfalls be? Where will those events that you need to avoid? Where are those people that you need to have a conversation with? Do you know what you will say to them? Have you practiced saying it in front of a mirror so it sounds like they are words that would come out your mouth? Because often we can write things down, but they're not the way we would say them. But there's another thing that's really useful to do for your week ahead, and that's planning for your emotions. So we can think through all the physical things or the eventful things or the people things, the things that are real and tangible that have got hard corners. But what we're hardest are for us to plan for are those really internal pitfalls. So what am I going to do when I'm angry with the kids? What am I going to do when I'm tired with the kids? What am I going to do when I'm tired? Full stop. I used to drink when I was tired because I was stupid. What am I going to do when I'm feeling really stressed at work? What am I going to do instead of that? What am I going to do if I'm feeling angry with somebody and I just want to do something to get this feeling out of my head? You need to plan for your emotional landscape in the weeks ahead. And the more you plan, the more you can mitigate, the more that will help you into week 2 and week 3 and week 4 and so on. If you're planning to moderate, that's just as important, because actually your days off booze will be the easiest days to manage because you know you're having nothing. But it will be harder on the days when you're feeling angry or hurt or upset to stick to the 2 glasses of wine that you might have said that you will only let yourself have. Because it's easy to press the fuck it button once you've got some alcohol in your system, and once you and because you've already started drinking, well, there's just the rest of the bottle, blah blah blah. So plan for your emotional week ahead as well, that you might already know there are days that you're going to be a bit stressed and upset. Actually, planning those might mean that you might not get as stressed and upset as you feel because you've a difficult conversation. I think we might have just lost contact there again. There's definitely a poor internet signal here today. So as I was saying, that if you can plan ahead to think through some of those emotional pitfalls, you might actually be able to avoid some of them or make some of them feel less harsh, which also may help you in the long run. So setting goals is actually really important. Taking time to set those goals is also really important. Giving yourself that time and space to think about how you drank and how that now translates into your goal setting for not drinking or reducing drinking is really important. But it also in itself becomes a really lovely daily practice. So we talked last week about the fact that sometimes it's good to give yourself some space each day to practice doing something that builds your resilience and your strength. Well, actually sitting each day and thinking through the day You know, was I thinking about alcohol at 3 o'clock? Did what I put in place work to stop me thinking about alcohol? How have I managed to get through today? Hooray, I've got through day one. Celebrate your little mini successes, and then think through the day ahead. Tomorrow, okay, so what's my plan for tomorrow? Is it robust enough? Do I need to modify it at all based on what I've learned today? Wouldn't it be great if I feel this good at the end of day 2 as well? So again, taking that little bit of time, it only needs to be 15 minutes to half an hour to take that time to practice not drinking, or practice moderating, and practice how you're going to plan the following day. So I'm hoping that makes some sense to you all about where your self-knowledge and self-awareness, where setting some goals and setting some things that you would like to see improve, some very small, tangible things to improve can help, and how planning and mitigating for all of those both people, places and things and emotions that might trip you up in the week ahead. And all of this, however hard it may seem, builds your resilience and your ability to get through week 2, 3 and 4, which you can do because I did it. And that may seem really easy from where I'm sitting, but to be honest, the fact that I don't drink is still really amazing to me. I still can't quite manage it. I thought I was going to be a beer monster for the whole of my life, and that was going to be an identity that was mine. And my identity was very tied up with my drinking. It was Laura who would always be out. It'd be Laura who would always hold her own in the bar. It was Laura who, I can't even tell you some of the most embarrassing things that I did. Amazing opportunities that I screwed up by drinking, and the only reason why they weren't screwed up more is because the other people were drinking just as much in the room as me. But things that were really important, oh God, it just makes me just feel horrific. So, you know, the fact that I can sit here today and say, well, actually, not only do I not drink, but drink being the thing that I go to, the thought of drink being the thing that I go to whenever I've got a stressful situation has just slowly diminished. And that has been slow. It's not, 2 years in, my first thought was still a gin and tonic on the end of a stressful day. The fact that that is no longer there is really important. And so this doesn't just become something that you do over 3 months. Your goals change and your aspirations change around your drinking, and your brain changes. Don't forget, you're undoing years and years. For me, that's 20 odd years of hard wiring where alcohol was part of everything that we did. So this is a practice, and it will get you somewhere, and it might not get you there all the way there in the first try, but you will get there. And the more effort you put in, the more that will take you over your goal line each time, further and further, every time you do a sprint or a streak or whatever you want to call it. So Elena will get further than last time because she's built some knowledge and resilience from the time before. She also knows what it feels like to fall off the wagon. And all of those that are back on track, BOT, so Susie and so on, you've built so much knowledge and resilience that will take you through to your next streak. So I'm going to leave it there. And as you know, we don't say good luck in club soda because you don't need it, because you've got all the tools and everything you need inside you and also within this community. But we've got your back, we're here, and ask any questions during the week. Ask any questions for me, and let me know if you're struggling with anything in particular so we can pick it up in next week's webinar. I also want to tell you about Thursday's webinar, because we've got Shah Wasmond coming, who's not anyone who's dealt with drink at all. What she does is encourage you to get off your arse and have the life that you want to have. Think about the career that you want to have. Stop thinking and start doing. And if there is, exactly, alcohol is about stopping thinking about drinking and start doing something bloody more interesting instead. So I would really love it if there was a big audience for her when she comes on Thursday evening, because she's quite a big wig speaker. But also I found out after I contacted her that she's never actually drunk, which is probably why she's so highly productive, and that makes me slightly jealous. I've got some catching up to do. So I'll be asking her some searching questions about how I get to be better than her. I think that's fair, don't you? Cool. All right, guys. I will speak to you next week, but I will certainly see you on the webinar this Thursday. Okay, bye.